Hi friends, welcome to the NPTEL course Business Development. We are in week 4 with the theme of market and competitor analysis. In this lecture, the 17th in the series, we discuss the topic of industry and market analysis. This is a case study of the specialty chemicals industry that has been conducted as part of the MBA coursework in the Department of Management Studies, Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. Conducting the study of an industry is both an art and a science. It is an art because each industry will have its special characteristics, its special nuances, which will be known to only those who are steeped into the industrial environment. However, it is also a science because industry has its metrics, industry has its structural features that can be metricized, and based on that, we can understand the structure of the industry. So, let's take the example of specialty chemicals industry, which is one of the potentially growing industries in India. Specialty chemicals are the ones that are used based on their performance and function. The effect chemicals or formulation chemicals entail. The specialty chemicals market accounts for about 22% of the total chemicals and petrochemicals industry in India. This market, this market is forecast to grow at a compounded annual growth rate CAGR of around 16% over the next few years. The industry caters to demand from different end user industries such as food processing, textile, automotive, paints and coatings, real estate, agriculture, and home and personal care. India ranks 14th in the exports and 8th in the imports of chemicals worldwide. Currently, China is the leading manufacturer and exporter of the specialty chemicals. What is a specialty chemical? There are two types of chemicals. One is the base commodity chemical, the second is the specialty chemical. The difference between the two arises from the kind of customization that happens and the kind of company capabilities that are required to customize the product. So there are factors of differentiation, primarily six. The first is the product variety. The commodity chemicals are standardized products and they are applicable for a whole lot of industries. On the other hand, specialty chemicals are customized products, for example, for the paint industry, for the pharmaceutical industry, and so on. There is a base for differentiation in any industry. In the case of several industries, we have seen that the base for differentiation varies from product specifications to pricing power to niche positioning and customer service, various other parameters. In the case of base commodity chemicals, as the word suggests, the base for differentiation is in terms of pricing. Whereas in the case of specialty chemicals, it is the R&D capability of the company together with the quality consistency that supports specialty chemicals. Market structure. Any commodity industry draws in large number of players for the reasons that technology is commoditized. B. Barriers to entry are lowered. And three, there would be opportunities for entrants to come in at different levels of production. The market is already established for base commodity chemicals. For specialty chemicals, the competition is limited, but at the same time, to enter that market, it requires greater capabilities on the part of the firm. As far as the switching cost is concerned, one can alter from one commodity chemical to another commodity chemical. Customers generally prefer low cost suppliers because of the standardized products. In specialty chemicals, the switching costs are moderate. I wouldn't say that one cannot switch one specialty chemical to the other or one manufacturer to the other. However, the switching costs are moderate. And there is a long approval process to get a specialty chemical listed as a vendor, whether it is an Indian company or whether it is a US company. The core growth driver for commodity chemicals is the cost leadership, whereas the core driver for specialty chemicals is the innovation driven high R&D. Economies of scale will have strong influence in the viability of the commodity chemicals business. Because the products are standardized, the product is amenable to higher economies of scale but with low margins. Whereas in the specialty chemicals, the benefit of the scale is limited because the portfolio by definition is of high variety and low volume. So this is the characteristic of the specialty chemical industry. Whenever you look at any product, you will get this kind of classification. Let us look at innovative pharma molecule and generic pharma molecule. An innovative pharma molecule would be highly customized towards the disease pathway, and there will be one, at best another 5 6, all developed by big pharma under patented monopoly. On the other hand, the generic molecule would be a standardized product which is already developed to a product which has been approved and has been in the market for the monopoly period and is now of patent protection. The basis for differentiation in respect of the specialty pharmaceutical is in terms of the R&D innovation, the creativity, and its uniqueness in addressing the disease pathway. Whereas the base for differentiation for commodity pharmaceuticals or generic pharmaceuticals is nothing but pricing. The market structure for big pharma is in terms of fewer players offering customized innovative products, whereas the market structure for commodity pharmaceuticals or generic pharmaceuticals is characterized by a large number of players. The generic pharmaceuticals business is characterized by low switching cost. The prescription is only in terms of the generic name, therefore people can switch from one kind of manufacturer to another kind of manufacturer. On the other hand, in big pharma, switching costs are very high because there are no alternatives available. In fact, switching itself is prohibited in case of certain products. The core growth driver for specialty pharmaceuticals is innovation and clinical capability, whereas in the case of commodity pharmaceutical, it is the cost leadership and the ability to maintain quality at low costs. Economy scale is very important for commodity pharmaceuticals. They are standardized, therefore high level of production can take place, and any generic market explodes after the patent protection expires. As far as the specialty pharmaceuticals or the innovative pharmaceuticals is concerned, the benefit is limited because there will be fewer companies operating in the market and the portfolio is not as broad as in the case of pharmaceutical, that is in the generic area. And this differentiation can be applied between a light commercial vehicle and a medium commercial vehicle, between a two-wheeler and passenger car, or one type of passenger car and the other type of passenger car, and so on. It can be applied in respect of a branded product such as Mercedes-Benz car and a relatively less branded product such as a car which is obtaining in the market such as Shoda. So the differences have to be appreciated and adroitly applied to different customer groups. When you look at the specialty chemical industry, 70% of the market is organized. And why is it organized? Because of the very special nature of the chemical and also the regulatory pathway involved in approving a product. Also, the environmental and safety concerns require that the products are manufactured with certain base level of capability and environmental compliance. 30% of the market is in the unorganized sector. There are players in different sectors which require specialty chemicals, agrochemicals, dyes and pigments, polymer additives, F&F based ingredients, F&F functional ingredients, both relating to the food industry, construction chemicals, nutraceutical ingredients, surfactants, water chemicals, personal care ingredients. All of these are reflective of the specialty chemical end usage. There are several players whose turnover is more than 5 billion rupees. When you look at the global production and global sale of specialty chemicals, you will note that China is the dominant manufacturer and North America comes very close. China has 25% market share and North America has 24% market share. Western Europe comes the third at 70%. So together, 66% of the market is catered to by the developed world and China. If you add Japan, the developed world has got even higher share. India is at a low 3%, and that's why There is so much potential for the development of specialty chemical industry that is organized in a proper manner. And in terms of the segment share, for the specialty chemicals, agrochemicals is the largest usage segment, that is followed by dyes and pigments. And then we have base ingredients, textiles, surfactants in the 6% above area. And functional ingredients, textiles, polymers, those are all other important activities which are connected with specialty chemicals. The industry structure in terms of the major players is shown in this slide. There are companies which are world scale in the Indian specialty chemical industry. Atul Industries, Vinati Organics Limited, Deepak Nitrate, Aarti Industries, Balaji Amines Limited, Bodal Chemicals, Sudarshan Chemical Industries. We covered the case studies earlier. Galaxy Surfactants, Pidilite. These are all companies which have got specialization in specialty chemicals. BAS is a company which is German based and it has got leadership position globally. SRF is another specialty chemical company which has taken strong position in the Indian specialty chemical industry. So the reasons for their dominance are discussed here. Aarti Industries, worldwide 75% of the portfolio is ranked in the range of first to the fourth position, covering a market share of 25 to 40% in each case. And the competitive advantage for specialty chemical industry players comes from their specialization in the chemistry. This company, Aarti Industries, is ranked third in chlorination, fourth in nitration, and second in ammonolysis and hydrogenation. SRF occupies more than 50% market share in domestic refrigerant market. Vinati Organics has 65% of the global market in isobutyl benzene and ATPS, while in isobutylene it has 70% of the market share, all because of the scale and the manufacturing process specialization. Sudarshan Chemical is ranked fourth worldwide in pigment manufacturing. Atul Limited is focused on aromatic products, 95% market share in PAA and 75% market share in PAA. And these products are used in healthcare, food industry, and sanitizers. Deepak Nitrite is engaged in industrial intermediates. It holds a good global market share of around 60% in DASDA, which is used in the manufacture of dyestuffs and optical whitening agents. Then we have Navin Fluorine International Limited, which is engaged in the manufacture of fluorine and attains a market share of 35% in fluorochemicals. The fluorochemical chemistry, that is the specialty of Navin Fluorine, as the title itself indicates. Galaxy Surfactant has got a range which has very high customer base. It has a customer base of 1750 plus, which includes most toothpaste players and chemical product players such as Colgate, Dabur, L'Oreal, etc. And it is spread over 80 plus countries. Has a 15% global market share in phenoxyethanol, which is used in the manufacture of soaps and perfumes. There are many chemical types, as I said. Construction chemicals is one of the chemical types. As you can see from this chart, construction chemicals themselves are in terms of different categories. We have chemicals which go into the concrete admixture, chemicals which help us in repair and rehabilitation. You would have seen advertisements saying that the application of this chemical will reduce or remove water seepage. Then you have protective coatings, what you apply on the steel structures, mild steel structures, and various other structures which need rust protection or decoration. Then you have adhesives. PI Industries products are all adhesives. Pidilite industry products are also in the range of specialty chemicals, providing several of these kinds of products. Waterproofing is an important application of construction chemicals. Waterproofing is done before the final cementing of the terrace is done through tiles. Then you have industrial flooring, particularly the factory floors which have epoxy coatings. When you look at the turnover, the growth is expected to be in several segments. Concrete admixture is likely to have 2x growth. Similarly, waterproofing would have 2x growth. In fact, the number of segments which are going to have 1.5 to 2x growth is indeed large. Repair and rehabilitation, protective coatings, industrial flooring, waterproofing, adhesives are all likely to have 1.5 to 2 times the growth. Sealants are also extremely important, although their turnover may not be as high. So the message which comes from this chart is that every segment of specialty chemical industry does offer its own scope. Therefore, understanding of the structure at the overall specialty chemical industry level as also at the sub-industry level is important for strategies. Let us look at the market size of the specialty chemical industry in terms of the segments of the various constituents. In terms of the size of the market, agrochemicals lead the field. It has got $9 billion market size with a CAGR of 12% that is forecast. And are there entry barriers? Yes, there are high. Is it required to be specialized in terms of product portfolio? Medium. The presence of scaled up Indian manufacturers. There are many companies which are specializing in agrochemicals. In fact, that is the first category of specialty chemicals that has taken off in India. Then, is there growth potential in the end market? Certainly, yes. Is this attractive? Again, as the full black circle indicates, it is fully attractive. When you look at the F&F and nutraceutical segments, the market size is not as high as the agrochemicals, but the growth rates are high. The potential to enter this market is challenging because of the nature of the end products, which require highest level of purity and human safety. But the overall attractiveness is high. When you look at the dyes and pigments segment, you will find that the market size is pretty attractive at $7 billion, but the growth rate is not as high as what exists for the F&F and neutral segments. The entry barriers are medium, product specialization medium, presence of scaled up players is very high, and end market growth potential is medium. Yet, because of the sheer market size, its attractiveness is high. Personal care chemicals are the ones which are going into the perfumes, ingredients, lipsticks, balms, and so many other things. It is a growing market. 15% is the forecast CAGR, where the entry barriers are high, so are the product specialization barriers. The presence of scaled up Indian players is pretty low, and the end market growth potential is high. It is also an attractive industry to operate in. Surfactants is a product which goes into toothpaste and other hygiene products. Market size is relatively better than personal care chemicals but much lower than the agrochemicals at $2 billion. The growth rate is poised to pick up in the years to come. Entry barriers are of medium scale and product specialization is also of medium scale. There are not many companies present in India in this segment, and the end market growth potential is also as per the growth potential of the segment. Therefore, is it fully attractive? Not really, but at least 75% it is attractive. When you look at textile chemicals, it is again a medium sized market with reasonably high growth of 11.5% with different characteristics on the industry structure. Construction chemicals is another high growth market but low volume base. It has got high entry barriers and high end market growth potential but has opportunity to enter because not many companies are present in this industry. Polymer additives is another specialized area which has a market size of $1.3 billion and a growth rate of 10%. It has got its own varying entry barriers, etc. It is not as attractive as the rest of the chemical industry constituents. Water chemicals again is 75% attractive because although the volume base is low or the revenue base is low, it has got high growth potential. It has high entry barriers. It is attractive because not many players are present in this segment. End market growth potential is also high. So when you characterize a particular industry and its segments on the basis of key factors of structural strength, entry barriers, product specialization, presence of scaled up Indian players, end market growth potential, you can understand which industrial segment is appropriate for entry, and that decision is also subject to the kind of technological and intensive capability and investment capability that you have. So when you look at the overall Indian specialty chemical industry, it has been consistently growing, and it can be expected to be doubling every 6 years or so. And within that, the construction chemical industry is also following a similar pattern of doubling every 6 years or so. So, what is the spread of the Indian specialty chemical industry? The specialty chemicals do not happen by themselves. They require other building blocks which come from petrochemical building blocks, petrochemical industrial intermediates, bulk chemicals, organic and inorganic. So, if you want to look at the entire value chain from the beginning of the petro product manufacture to the specialty chemicals delivery, you will find that the petrochemical building blocks are the ones where we have self sufficiency. In the case of intermediates, we are a net importer, getting several of the intermediates from China. When you look at the bulk chemicals, organic and inorganic, here again China scores high in terms of the exports to India. And in terms of the specialty chemicals, despite the import dependence on China, we are able to export our finished specialty chemicals. The situation is same in respect of the pharmaceuticals as well. We are dependent on China for a number of APIs and a number of intermediates. Yet we are able to have export of formulations to a much greater level than China has been able to get. The trade balance of these classifications of the value chain is demonstrated here. You have building blocks at positive trade balance, specialty chemicals at the positive trade balance, but intermediates and bulk chemicals being at the negative trade balance. So the key characteristics of the Indian specialty chemicals industry are in terms of strong export presence, strong growth potential in domestic market, lower focus on R&D activities, emergence of business focusing on sustainable chemistry. Sustainable chemistry is one of the very intrinsic and essential feature of the specialty chemical industry. Whoever is able to provide green chemistry or sustainable chemistry is likely to find favor with the global buyers. When you look at the dispersion of the industry, you will find that the western part of the country has got the maximum concentration of the specialty chemical manufacturers, followed by the state of Gujarat, and then you have got Madhya Pradesh and northern India having this level of specialty chemical presence. Industry clustering is also one of the important aspects of study of the structure of an industry. So, how do you do strategic positioning for the specialty chemical industry? Politically, the Make in India program is going to attract lots of domestic and foreign investors into India. Housing for All by 2022 scheme and its extensions will provide housing to the urban poor. The entire infrastructure and construction expenditure is going to lead to higher demand for specialty chemicals. Introduction of real estate mutual fund and real estate investment trust will shift towards more formal methods of construction, therefore much better regulated and much better developed raw material ingredients of its specialty chemicals is going to be an important ingredient. And the China plus one with specialty chemicals serving as an alternate to Chinese chemical products is going to also influence the growth of this industry. In terms of the economical aspects, Indian market is the seventh largest by nominal GDP, third largest by purchasing power parity. We do have low labor cost, which will encourage foreign investments. Construction industry itself is a huge industry. It accounts for 80% of the total GDP, and we are expected to have even more impressive growth in the construction industry. Rising disposable incomes, low interest rates, and increasing urbanization will also be the factors which are going to give a fillip to industries such as construction and real estate. In terms of the social factors, increasing country population, increasing proportion of urban population, that is urbanization, these will create demand for new infrastructure, and increasing penetration of ready to use ready mix concretes, precast and prestressed concrete is going to lead to a different way of construction, and this will give fillip to the specialty chemicals because they have got a big role in terms of binding capability of these cements. Then, in terms of technology, there is a technological gap. Construction companies still use low grade technology in the construction sector, and this has led to low value addition and low productivity, apart from substandard quality and time overruns. The business of ready mix concrete is getting popular amongst construction companies. India's ready mix concrete uses only 2% of the total cement production. So you can imagine the kind of scope which is there in the construction business for specialty chemicals. The more the ready mix is used, the more the cost efficiency and safety of the construction industry, and that would be a trigger for the growth of the specialty chemical industry. So, how do you position this product? The drivers, the restraints, the opportunity, and the challenge, the drop model. The drivers are increasing disposable income, growing R&D activities for new product development, and favorable distribution channel policies. Because the distribution system is itself evolving from the traditional wholesaler retailer kind of distribution market, we are going to have strong CFAs and strong distributors, but lot of activity at the retail level to generate the demand. Similarly, you're going to have channels such as modern trade and digital channels taking over some of the aspects of traditional distribution. This is going to be a driver. The restraints are in terms of the largely unorganized market which still exists, therefore, the cost advantage and the dynamism they display. The product handling capabilities within the industrial system doesn't seem to be foolproof. There's a lot of leakage and wastage. The high cost for branded product is always compared with the low cost of the unbranded substitutes, and the inadequate infrastructures, be it the road transport or the ports or the intermodal logistics terminals, there is something more that needs to be covered in terms of the futuristic development. The opportunities are certainly there: growing population and need for residential properties, rising demand for infrastructure, be it the new kinds of public buildings or dams and things like that, and the government of India initiatives in respect of new factory constructions, PLI schemes, and so on. The challenge is to get the stringent regulatory approvals in India as well as abroad. There are health and safety concerns at the end user level. What kind of chemicals are being used? Are those chemicals going to be released into the environment as the products are used? And is there any cancerous effect because of that? And the disruption in supply chain. So the chemicals are expected to go through the same kind of testing rigor and assurance that a typical pharmaceutical ingredient must go through. So, what is the competitive strategy for growth? We have looked so far at the structure of the industry and the various parameters that define the structure. There are four types of competitive strategies that could be adopted by this industry. One, cost plus focus. Indian market is still very nascent at just 3% of the global market. There is a comparatively lower cost of investment in India, and when you focus on a single product or a single product cluster, you will be able to implement cost advantage plus focus advantage strategies. You can also achieve differentiation plus focus. You take one core product and develop, look for penetration into market, create awareness and knowledge. This happens through differentiation and focus. SRF is a classic example of focusing on one type of product and assuming a leadership position in that product. Next, you have the differentiation strategy where you create a blue ocean strategy, develop a large area for growth, and co create the experience with the customers, and finally base yourself on innovation and R&D to be able to drive growth. Finally, cost plus differentiation. Become a global player, leverage low cost operating strategy, scale up the operations provided the demand exists, then provide differentiated competitive solutions to the customers. So the value creation vision for the specialty chemical industry is as follows in terms of three main blocks of the value chain. The first, R&D. You got to start with product innovation and then product development. Production includes procurement, the actual production, and packaging. and there again there is scope for value creation. And later on distribution comes, and then after sales comes. So for product innovation and R&D, you need to have budgets which are internationally competitive. Indian companies tend to spend around 1% of their budget on R&D expenditures. However, for specialty chemical industry to be globally competitive, you need adequate budgets of the range of 8 to 10% of revenue. The procurement is also very important. Procurement of concentrated bulk chemicals and the play on economies of scale. That is, if you are a high scale specialty chemical manufacturer, you would be able to get better pricing and also assured supply from the concentrated bulk chemicals. Production efficacy in terms of the final product suiting local conditions is another important consideration. The specialty chemicals have to be packaged well. They should be weatherproof and they should be leak proof. They should be visually appealing and they should be able to handle the rough handling that happens in multimodal transport or in cross border transport. Therefore, branding, strong distribution network, and awareness initiatives are very much required for good transportation practice in this product range. After sales service is important because these are the resources that will bring additional sales for the company. So, resource availability must be ensured to meet customer needs and customer training. Product market development will similarly be staircased. It has to happen on multiple levels. Technology adaptation happens in terms of investing in new technology to deliver cutting edge products to the market. Sustainability, society, and innovation happens through product innovation, focusing on these parameters. Globalization is possible when global markets are targeted through multi channel thing. You need not go in this starting phase directly to the US market and try to sell this product to all the users. Instead, you may take up a channel that is going to be helpful in distribution. You can have a strategic alliance with that partner and then understand the market, start producing products that are relevant for the market, and at some point of time decide that you would be standalone. And finally, in order to reduce the time of growing in a market and also to take advantage of the vacuum that is getting created because of the China One policy, you may like to go in for strategic acquisition. And that helps not only in terms of capturing the market gap, but also in terms of providing access to technology transfers and best operations practices of the companies that are acquired or allianced with in the developed world. So, what are the specific features of product market development? Technology rules the roost. The chemical has to lead to better properties, cohesive strength, flexibility, thermal stability, etc. It should be capable of multi usage, hardwood, carpeting, and linoleum, etc. In the past, we used to have paints which are dedicated for wooden surfaces, paints which are dedicated for steel surfaces, and so on. Today, we have paints that can be used for all the types of surfaces. Sustainability, society, and innovation. You should have systems which will take away the pain points of chemical production and distribution. You need to have moisture curable systems. You should have environmental resistance built into the chemicals technical specification profile against ultraviolet, corrosion, salt water, and you name them. You should be happening because specialty chemical is the first protective coat that is applied over the product. Then product innovation. Going global, Indian market itself is huge. Should we move into the global market? Yes, we must, because when you move into the global market, you try to understand, you get to understand the latest technological trends that are prevailing in that market, and that helps you diversify, upgrade your product range, and meet the requirements seamlessly. Strategic alliances are very much required in this industry. It is no time to rediscover the wheel as far as the specialty chemical industry is concerned. You got to follow the global players. However, you should put your stamp of contribution through strategic alliances as well as various partnership strategies. As a matter of interest, top 5 players in the industry contribute to the market share of about 90% in the Indian adhesives and sealants market. There could be disruptions from the market, because whenever a company is in the exalted position of high market share, there is always going to be competition from the lower end of the market. So one should keep an eye on the disruptions from the market. Investment in technology is the key, because global players are operating in this industry and they have huge deep pockets. Then a clever way of expanding the business while the going is good or going is the tough comes from your ability to have strategic alliances, acquisitions, technology partnerships, and things like that. That's where the automobile industry has succeeded in terms of continuously accessing technology to the level that it is almost self sufficient. Euro's 6 engine is supposed to be very challenging to develop. Therefore, Ashok Leyland has given the task to a reputed design studio outside. However, the company also has developed its own Euro 6 range, and that has provided great strength to the company in navigating through the adverse market conditions of the COVID times, as also the new demand escalation times of the current times. So, the ability to do strategic alliances, acquisitions, technology partnerships, and so on is vital to the profile of a strategist undertaking product market development in the specialty chemical industry. So, what kind of strategic alliances could exist? You could have a consortium, you could have technology partnership, which is the most well known licensing, you could have private brand agreements, you could have sales partnership, you could have multi channel partnership, and you can have acquisition partnership. In terms of the operations, you can have manufacturing partnership, vendor buyer relationship, you can have joint venture, and finally, you can have merger. Each of these aspects will be discussed by me in subsequent slides, but suffice it to say that this entire value chain of specialty chemical manufacture can be segmented, and the right alliances and right market arrangements as well as right integration arrangements can be found based on a deep study of the industry structure as well as the supportive industry structures. The pros of alliances are very clear. It helps the company move rapidly into larger and more attractive markets. They ensure better efficiency. There is complementarity and synergy. And finally, there is faster strategy implementation. The cons are that you got to share the profits. If you look at the previous model, wherein you supply the product to a generic distributor and then price it at cost plus being very marginal 10%, and then the overseas marketer applies his or her own generic distribution margin and then shares the profit obviously is lower than what you would have got had you put your foot in that market. However, there are other qualitative aspects which are involved in making those decisions. That's why I said that business development in specialty chemical industry or any other industry is as much an art as a science. Ultimately, the chemistry you have with the management of that company as well as the promoter of that company is going to be the clinching factor in terms of the viability and workability of strategic alliances. Once you decide to be in the specialty chemical industry with the kind of network supports that are going to be in place, you require integrated communication on a B2B basis, because most of the specialty chemicals go directly to the businesses, be it the car distributorship or the OMCs for the biodiesels. The shift is essentially in terms of integrated communication. The product based integrated communication must be specification driven, must highlight superior performance, and it must be customer focused. The specialty chemical industry has the opportunity to co create use of these chemicals in various industrial activities. The second one would be pricing, value pricing. It is not the lowest cost pricing, but it is value pricing. And the third is the place where you would like to keep your products. The distribution network, the direct sales, and the warehouses are the key places where you keep your products. And finally, promotion is in terms of educating the customers in terms of their requirements, educating the customer in terms of the capabilities of the firm, and providing product samples which they could try out. The group believed, to the extent they were experienced, that this kind of model will work very well with the specialty chemical industry as well. Suppose your product is a B2C product, that is a specialty chemical which serves day to day pharmaceuticals, or a specialty chemical which supports the writing pens, which supports the typewriting work, which supports academic activity in general. You will find that the level and the intensity of collaboration and competition are directly and overwhelmingly different. So at a product level, you will have a diverse product portfolio based on the strong R&D that you have. Price will of course be based on penetration pricing, but the better quality will be offered along with the lower price compared to small players. In terms of the place, the traditional distribution system will continue to be the mainstay. Wholesalers, retailers on one hand, and hypermarkets and supermarkets on the other. So this kind of differentiation is something which is going to help the people who have started the industry but are not able to scale it up to global standards. Nothing is lost. These are the four features that are available to explore and take the right landings. Then promotion comprises ad campaigns, social media, brand awareness, and similar marketing applications that companies adopt. To get at pricing, you need to understand what is being contributed by what product. So, in the specialty chemical industry and in the subsegment of that industry, namely protective floor systems, you have got star products such as covering products which use PU technology. You have cash cows which use epoxy technology. You have question marks which use combinations of polyurea and polyurethane technology. And those products could be the blockbusters for the Indian specialty chemical manufacturers, and those who lead the sales and marketing effort for those kinds of products are likely to be the winners in the career competition. And of course, you have underdog, which is hybrid technology, which carries and makes a mishmash of all the available technologies, all the available marketing approaches, and really doesn't know where you really need to go in terms of handling that product. There are key factors of growth for Indian specialty chemical industry. We must be happy about the likely growth potential. The first, low costs of manufacturing and availability of skilled labor. There is no doubt that the world looks at India as a preferred manufacturing destination. They were looking at India only as an IT hub. Today, it extends to manufacturing destination approach, and tomorrow it could extend to the R&D activities. Low cost of manufacturing, cheap labor wage rates, and abundant availability of skilled manpower are the assets which need to be protected and projected as we move forward. Second, strong intellectual property rights, IPR protection policy. From filing process returns and challenging product patents in the 1970s, India has come a long way for a unified patent regime, which includes product patents, process patents, and various other patents. And also, it has got a very clear demarcation of responsibilities of the site, the quality, and the consultants. And the site has to take care of the quality production at the site level. And the enablers for this are many, and those enablers have to be understood when we come to the enablers. The Indian specialty chemical industry also enjoys strong global acceptance. As much as 50% of the production is exported. It is exported as ingredients for flavors, fragrances, and nutraceuticals. The track record of producing world quality output speaks for itself. But there are issues. There is a shortage of feedstock supply, which is dominated by China. So the majority of India's petrochemical building blocks are channelized towards bulk polymers. The other end user segments must predominantly rely upon imports for their feedback and feed forward. Chinese domination in feedstocks like epiclohydrin for exports, MDI for curing agents, which is a disruptive force, is to be taken into account. And if these shortages and the domination impact are not addressed, Indian chemical industry, despite the local investments, may find itself at the end of the journey. Therefore, it is important that the business development must focus as much as on external demand as it focuses on internal demand, and of course together with the causative features. Majority of the players are subscale in this segment, which is one of the reasons why the companies which I have mentioned here have all the possibilities to become number five growth makers, provided they play their game well. Then you have gaps in the enforcement of environmental regulations. Indian environmental regulations have always been stricter than China. However, the enforcement varies depending on the location and the size of the enterprise. For example, the regulation relating to the release of toxic fumes and diesel fumes and chemistry fumes to market has got its own deleterious implication on the product that you have. So, in summary, we can think of six factors. There is a clear shift in customer preference. Customers are increasingly getting interested in environment friendly and socially responsible products and services. Chemical product by definition is not environmentally friendly and socially responsible. They affect the environment together and they're also challenging in terms of the workplace safety. However, most companies are now becoming conscious of health and hygiene and are demanding milder and safer products with pure ingredients, because this is where the trend of the world is also going. Second, increasing per capita production. The current per capita consumption of chemical products is just one tenth of the global average. Therefore, there is a huge potential to double this consumption, and this offers great scale up and scope up opportunities for the specialty chemical industry. Digitalization and Industry 4.0 is another thrust area. We can have horizontal and vertical integration, a new definition of operations management, participation in reverse actions and digital auctions, and creation of new digital models overall. Chemical companies are implementing digitization initiatives and tools in their supply chains, demand planning, and pricing strategies. Whenever you deal with a fluid, be it the oil or the chemical, there is the potential for leakage. That leakage could be due to the nature of devices used, transportation used, or by deliberate fraudulent activities. Digitization helps in providing things like digital seals and ensuring seamless transportation from the ship to the factory and from the factories to the various distribution endpoints. There's also going to be increasing M&A and investment related activity. As you would have seen, this is a scale intensive industry. The greater the scale you have, the greater the specialization you have, you would have greater capability to operate in the global markets. Therefore, there are enough downstream value added opportunities which could increase the strength of the Indian specialty chemical industry. Therefore, companies must look at realignment of portfolios from time to time, and these would be drivers for strong M&A and investment activities. Of all the factors, China plus one strategy is the most important one. Consolidation in the industry, environmental reforms, and tightening finance is changing the face of China's chemical industry. This has resulted in uncertainty for companies dependent on the country for their supply of raw materials. 24% from the United States is dependent on this. Similarly, from the Western Europe, a huge demand position exists. Japan has got a huge demand position. Almost 70 to 75% of global chemical demand from the developed world can be catered to by India, which means that there would be unimaginable increase the scope, scale, and extent of the specialty chemical industry. In addition, COVID-19 kind of outbreaks have different impacts in different areas of the world. Right now, China is locking down on its industrial production and slowing down on its economic growth because of its zero COVID policy. And that has got implications for India in terms of ramping up its production. And that must, however, not be linked only to the pandemic, but it should be linked to the sustainable factor advantages and production advantages of the Indian specialty chemical industry. And that alone will attract investments into this. And in doing so, we must protect our low cost labor image. Then we have innovation and sustainability, which could offer significant capability. Companies are going to invest in India not merely because of the labor cost arbitrage or just as a hedging option against China, but essentially for taking the product portfolio into the future. That is where R&D and innovation on the part of the Indian specialty chemical industry would come up. We have to move up the value chain from low innovation products to high innovation products while incorporating the considerations of sustainability and green chemistry. And this will lead to continuous improvement in products, time to time breakthrough disruptions in the products, and greater manufacturing process controls as well as safety controls. And this, once it happens through interactive customer management and suppliers across the value chains, would provide a strong foundation for the specialty chemical industry of India to take up the next journey. Therefore, anyone who is doing strategy has to understand the overall environmental factors, the structural dynamics of the industry, the strategic positioning that is possible for different types of companies, and the drivers for the strategy to be a sustainable strategy and the approach to achieve competitive advantage out of such strategies. Therefore, the strategist has to understand the industry in all its breadth and depth and make the decisions on the requirements on the growth. And that's how you make your decisions towards vertical integration, towards expansion, towards diversification in capital intensive and technology intensive industries such as specialty chemicals, where we have still a huge headroom to grow based on the unmet Indian demand as well as the global demand. Thank you. With this, we come to the end of the lecture, and I look forward to seeing you in the next class. The next class will focus on two industrial segments, and it will demonstrate further how product clusters lead to market clusters. It also will demonstrate through the other example how the entire value chain of an industry, even in a high technology industry, would lead to market presence across different customer groups and across different value chain compartments. So those two case studies also will be of interest to you. Thank you.